G'day. Welcome back to the Best of the Rest podcast. It's Sticks and Freezer. How you travelling, Freezer?
Good, Sticks. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. Good.
That's the way.
Bit of a different format today.
Yeah, a bit of a quick fire one.
Yeah, we try the old summer break update. Just covering all the little bits and pieces that have gone on so far in the summer break.
Bloody oath.
Well, the main one, which sort of happened, quicker than expected, really, was Sainz jumping to Williams after Perez, I guess, was backed by Red Bull.
Yeah,
Sort of
re-signed him, and a couple of days later, I think it wasn't even that long, to be honest. It was almost same day.
Yeah.
Just Sainz jumped straight into Williams and said, give us that contract.
And that's what it sort of seemed like, was Sainz was hanging out for, maybe there's a sniff for Red Bull, maybe not.
Yeah.
And then once that door was closed, it was like, well, Williams it is.
Yeah, fair chance he had that contract sitting on his bedside table for a while.
Yeah, well, they say that they go on for talks going on all the time, and it's they're in work for months, which is sort of crazy.
Yeah, well, apparently Toto's had one drawn up for Max Verstappen for years, just sitting there waiting for him to one day.
That would almost be that'd be bigger than Hamilton to Ferrari, I reckon. If Max
huge.
just went, see ya, off to Mercedes, it'd be crazy. But the Sainz moves in itself was sort of caught me off guard. I didn't expect that at all.
No.
That was quite far down on the list. What did you think?
Yeah, well, I guess I never saw Hamilton really leaving Mercedes, and that was the kingpin to it all. So he's jumped ship, and Ferrari have gone for iconic, I guess, and obviously he's a good driver. But one of the best in the world. So
It's caused a domino effect on the grid, though, hasn't it? Just
that's it.
Everything's gone up in the air. I thought with Sainz, Audi seemed like the logical choice with a link with his old man, and there's a long-term contract there, and potentially Audi could be pushing for that Formula A sort of spot in the years to come. But obviously, seeing something there at Williams that tickled his fancy.
Yeah, and Audi could have had the team built around him, whereas the talk at Williams is that Albon's having the team built, kind of around him as such. So it'll be interesting to see how things pan out with Williams now. They've got two quite good drivers. Obviously, Sainz has shown what he can do in a good car, but it'll be interesting when Albon compares against him to see where he's actually at.
Well, those two on paper are probably one of the best driver lineups sort of on the grid for next season.
Yeah.
I compete with most on the grid, you'd imagine.
Yeah, you'd think so. It would just be if Williams can give them the car to perform.
And I mean, Albon's led that team quite well so far, but he hasn't necessarily had the opposition on the other side of the garage to really push him and get the most out of him.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting, like you say, to see Sainz as a genuine benchmark on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. And see if Albon has been taking that car to places it hasn't belonged, or if Albon's the actual benchmark and Sainz is going to take it further.
It's going to be quite interesting for Williams, and a lot of pressure on Williams too. Like, Albon's not been the leader of that team, but I don't imagine he'd be quite as demanding as Sainz.
Yeah.
As in, like, I deserve, I'm not going to hang around if you're not going to give me a car that I can do something with, which a driver of his caliber deserves. It's going to be wasted talent if Williams can't give him a half-decent car that he can do something with. And, I mean, I'd love to see Williams push for that, solid midfield spot, top of midfield over the coming seasons. And I guess the reg changes in 26, maybe they've shown signs that they're doing a bit of this, bit of that he likes the look of.
Yeah, and James Vowles keeps talking about long-term. And, he's obviously got to have some kind of idea or proposal in mind to be able to snag these couple of drivers. One, to have re-signed Albon. I was a little bit surprised. I thought that might have taken a bit longer, and maybe Albon might have had a bit of a look in at Mercedes or somewhere like that, but he seemed to get signed back up pretty quick. And then to sign Carlos Sainz as well. Yeah, two big signings.
Yeah, well, two drivers that more or less would be a walk-up in most teams on the grid.
Yeah.
Well, there wouldn't be any teams that would turn either of those away unless like you're sort of the front runners. But yeah, I think the long-term project is probably one of the most important mindsets in Formula One because you don't flick a switch and go from, oh yeah, bottom 2-3 team to, oh yeah, front three. Like it's a gradual transition if it happens at all.
Yeah.
So you sort of need to have that, okay, well, 3, 4, 5 seasons sort of horizon, not just, yeah, righto, next season we're going to jump up and be fighting for a championship. Doesn't happen like that. You don't really want to have that mindset because you're going to set yourself up for disappointment.
Yeah, for sure.
But the catalyst to this move, Perez. Red Bull backing in Perez for the rest of the season, supposedly.
Yep.
Initial thoughts on that?
Surprised. And now, obviously can't see that changing for the rest of the year. If there was going to be a move, I think they would have done it by now, ready for the summer break, and switch around their drivers from RB and Red Bull or bring someone else in like a Lawson. So I think if it hasn't happened now, then it's definitely not going to happen for the rest of the season. But I can't see it continuing after this season because this could potentially lose them the Constructors' Championship.
Which is wild. The chat going into the summer break was Perez is more or less done.
Yep.
And then, we're only a few days out of, a few days into the summer break, and they decided this is the perfect time to back Perez in. No, he's going to see the rest of the season out, where all bets were on him leaving him or doing a swap with Ricardo or whatever however the format was going to work. But yeah, Red Bull have got themselves in a slight situation, having Lawson on the sidelines and then Hadjar is, a driver that they've spotlighted and said, we want this guy's services. So how do they play that? They haven't got the seats for it. Too many drivers, not enough seats. Something's got to give.
Yeah, and we've seen how ruthless Red Bull have been in the past. So it just doesn't make sense now that they're starting to honour drivers when they're not even performing well.
It's weird, isn't it? It's like the ruthlessness was iconic Red Bull, and although it can be seen as savage and too aggressive at times, what keeps them at the tip of the spear. If you're not performing at that A grade level, see you later. And I mean, it seems more now it's less about that second driver and more about keeping Max happy. So Perez doesn't really challenge Max. He's a good second fiddle to Max in terms of he's not really giving Max competition on the road. Everyone's probably developing the car with Max in mind, not really Perez. So keep that dynamic going for the rest of the season and not unsettle things by maybe putting someone in that seat that challenges Max and then it creates a divide within the team. I don't know if that's their sort of approach, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense from the outside unless it's purely monetary, because you hear a lot about that as well with Perez.
But even then, you'd think that there can't be that much sales and merch and sponsors and stuff that he brings in to validate. Like the way that McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari are all starting to perform, they could end up dropping even 2 positions.
Exactly. And then they can go into next season with an untested driver lineup, Max paired with XYZ. So then who knows? Like you say, there's the competitions at the top of the standings is quite, it's bloody close now, and Red Bull have had a jump on them. So next season they could potentially be 4th.
Yeah. Yep. If there's a bit of a flip in the results from, or even continues the way that has the last few races, then it could be anyone's game. Like Max has still pretty well got the Drivers' Championship under wrap, but Constructors is just about open for anyone.
And the Constructors, you hear chat about, finishing first in the Constructors is worth X amount and second is, however many million less. But I think it comes down to more than that, because sponsors, they want their brand on the number one car. You want to be seen as the dominant. Like people know that, Red Bull are the best in Formula One because of their dominance over the last few years. No one really cares who finishes second or third. It's just the best, and then that's what everyone knows. But the casual fans know that Red Bull dominant, Max is a gun, rah, rah, rah. So it has a knock-on effect with your sponsors and who wants to actually pay to put their name on your car if you are second, third, fourth in constructors. So, yeah, there is a lot on the line, and it just does seem like a little bit of a strange decision. So we'll see how it pans out in the second half of the season.
Yeah, it just seems odd that RB aren't really using like Red Bull aren't using RB as their junior team, as the feeder team.
Yeah.
Like, you'd think you'd be ruthless up the top because it's the pinnacle of motorsport. Like, it's understandable that's how competitive the seats are. And that it doesn't get stagnant in Formula One. And you keep all this new talent coming through. But then they've got Ricciardo and Tsunoda, who are both pretty well veterans of the sport, really.
Mm.
And they're not really looking like promoting them that easily. And it's like, well,
what's going on here?
What are you doing? You either need to be axing someone from your top team and moving things around, or moving people out of your feeder team as such and getting some fresh blood in.
Well, the big cog in the bottle in the feeder team is Ricciardo, but then he's worth so much to the team and the marketing value side of things. But then, like you say, Tsunoda's established at this point. He's got experience, and this season he's proven his worth, and yet he still doesn't get a look into the top team. That's again why I found it weird that he signed with RB when there were other opportunities on the table, supposedly. I'm not sure what he's hoping for, because it doesn't seem like they view him as an option for the top team.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably the two major things that have happened out of the summer break so far. So we'll wrap this short little pod up.
Yeah, we'll put a lid on it.
And we'll catch you in the next one.
Definitely.
Look at this. This is not a dog. This is a piece of shit.